Greetings, everyone. This is your boy Sam Orem coming at you with another episode of the Deep Dive Podcast. As usual, I'm excited about tonight's guest. We're going to have some fun, but we're also going to empower you. We want to make sure that all of our listeners, wherever you are around the world, make sure you do us a favor, like, subscribe, download, and share this particular podcast. As usual, we've been, talking to people all over the world. We've been sharing a message of empowerment and entertainment all over the world. And we want to continue to do that. We want to continue to expand our brand. We want to continue to expand our message. And we want you to be a part of that. When you hit that subscribe button, every time there's a new episode of the podcast or any kind of changes or updates, you'll get a notification on your phone. So we want to make sure that you're all subscribed and all participating in the empowerment movement known as the Deep Dive Podcast. Now, with all of that being said, guys, I have an incredible guest for you tonight. It's interesting, and I say this every week, but every week it seems like, our guests get more and more impactful because a lot of people come, just through request. A lot of people come with a message that can empower people at the highest degree. Well, this gentleman is no different. He is an incredible person. As a matter of fact, he is a life coach. He is a minister. He is an author, a visionary. Think about that. Somebody that have all of these characteristics has to be someone that's doing some things that are incredible. He is actually a catalyst for change. And what that means is he literally takes take you from where you are to where you want to be just through his messages of empowerment, his messages of stick-to-itiveness, his message of vision and hope and focus. So this is somebody that regardless of where you are, regardless of what you're doing, regardless of where you are in your life, if you're looking to take that next step in terms of a quality of life, this is one of the gentlemen not only do you want to hear from tonight in this episode of the podcast, but you also want to continuously follow his message because he is doing some incredible things. He'll be able to share a little bit more about himself and some things, but I just want to bring him to the world. I want everybody in the Deep Dive Podcast universe to help me give a virtual welcome to none other than the extraordinary Mr. Lewis Person. Lewis, how you doing, my man?
I am doing great. Thank you so much for having me. I'm in a great space this evening.
All right, man. I tell you what, that is incredible. I'm excited. We've been looking forward to having you on the Deep Dive Podcast. As a matter of fact, I know we scheduled this some time ago and weeks have gone by, but now it's time for us to get a chance to hear from the man directly, some of the things that, you're doing, how some of the things that you're doing can empower the audience. So, we're just going to get right into it. And I just like to open up with our guests with just having them share a little bit about themselves, just what's going on in the world of Lewis Person.
Ooh, that's a loaded question, but
I knew you were gonna say that.
well. So much is going on, so many great things. I think the key word that we've heard many a time during this time of COVID that we're in is that we're all doing a reset in one way or another. And I
Mhm.
think for myself, the reset has come in the form of health, it's coming in a form of wellness, it's come in the form of just doing some levels of self-inventory. I think each and every one of us definitely are in a time. I would encourage everyone. I know I'm at the beginning, so I don't want to get ahead of myself, but you definitely want to do what I call self-inventory. Each of us need to take the time to see where we are, where we've come from, and where it is we want to go. But just briefly about myself, I am a two-time cancer survivor. I actually, at the beginning of the year, had a stem cell transplant. One of my siblings was the donor. I would say it was a very challenging situation, more challenging than we probably thought it would be initially, but
Mhm.
I got through it. I'm getting through it, and so we're here. The Evolving Leader, my book, we're working the book, and we're just working on so many great things. So life is continuing to move forward regardless to what we've been faced with.
Right, right. Well, I certainly understand that. First of all, we'll continue to uplift you in prayer and for your strength and full recovery in terms of all the physical challenges that you've had to deal with. I know that can be challenging, especially with all the other things that you're doing and you're looking to do moving forward, and still having to deal with physical challenges like that. But kudos to the fact that you're still here, you're still pushing, and you're still inspiring others, with your message of stick-to-itiveness and focused, even in the midst of adversity. So we certainly appreciate that, and we'll continue to lift you up in prayer. You said something that's powerful. You talked about everyone being able to take self-inventory, and I think that's a concept that, first of all, most people don't really do in terms of taking a self-inventory, but it's so critically important. I mean, I think about this. How is it that you can genuinely or truly predict or create your future when you really haven't done an inventory of where you are today? So from your perspective, what do you think, or can you expound a little bit on the notion of self-inventory? What does that mean from your perspective?
Self-inventory to me, in its simplest form, is really sitting down, taking analysis of where you are. And the only way you can do that successfully, you have to be honest, be willing to, and I'm going to say write it down. Don't even just say it out loud, it's fine, but write it down. What am I doing well right now? What am
Okay.
I not doing so great right now? What do I want to change in my life, or what needs to change? And then you begin to hold yourself accountable in these areas. I know for myself personally, I know I am a great communicator.
Okay.
So I can say my communication skills are good. Okay, and then I break my communication in half. Okay, so in communication, you're a great communicator. What do you do well with communication? I do well with empowering people. I do well
Mm-hmm.
with encouraging people. I do well with trying to see things ahead of schedule. Okay, what can you improve on with communication? So
Right.
I've acknowledged I'm great with communication, but there's still an area within communication I can improve on. And what I learned from that point is, okay, you're great at everything you just said, but this is the area you can be even greater in, is becoming a more effective listener.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, that's powerful, because when you think about it, and I like the fact that you want people to be honest. In fact, you have to be honest in order to truly to have this exercise of self-improvement work. You
Hmm.
have to be honest with yourself, and taking a true inventory of where you are. And it's okay. You're writing it down, like Lewis said, because you're only talking to yourself right now. So you're doing, which is hence the name self, inventory.
Absolutely.
And so being honest with yourself, and making sure that you find out those things, those strengths and those weaknesses. And I like to tell people, if you lack in a certain area, you want to make sure you attack that lack before that lack attacks you.
That's
So
good.
that's going to be critically important in that whole, self-inventory, self-evaluation, and all of those type things. So that's powerful. Lewis, I know that, like I said, you've been going through a lot of things physically, mentally challenging, business wise. I've known you for quite some time, and I've kind of watched your journey from afar. One of the things that I saw, and is interesting when watching your journey from afar, I've been able to see you evolve from where you were, many years ago when we first met, to where you are today in terms of your life. And I say it's ironic, or maybe it's God sent, but the fact is you have a book called The Evolving Leader. And I can see that evolution just through you personally. But for the people who have not had an opportunity to meet you intimately, or even to know what the book, The Evolving Leader, is all about, could you just share a little bit? First of all, how did you come up with that title? What was the progression? And then what the actual book is about?
Absolutely. So the evolving leader started out initially, I was invited to come and do a leadership training. And so as I was preparing for the leadership training, I knew some months in advance I had to prepare.
Mm-hmm.
And the good thing about any successful leader I began to learn is, whether it's from a spiritual standpoint or not, God always deals with you about the message before you deliver the message.
Right.
And what I learned was God said, this message is more about you than it is about them. But as you understand the message, your delivery to them is going to be that much more impactful and powerful. So I'm getting the information together and I'm writing the notes down. What is evolving and what does that mean to me? And one thing I stood there myself. Most of us have showed up somewhere in our lives unprepared.
Mm-hmm.
We showed up not knowing what to expect, good, bad, or indifferent. I showed up somewhere, I didn't know what the expectation was. And
Okay.
so I had that happen to me back in 2007. I went to an event. People had kind of told me about the event. I got there really not knowing what to expect or encounter, but I set my expectations within my mind of what I needed and what I
Mm-hmm.
wanted the outcome to be without even knowing the content of the information. So I began to set the stance for where it is I wanted to go. Henceforth, evolving. So what is evolving? In order to evolve, I have to understand I'm somewhere, and then there's somewhere I need to go. And
Right.
I have to be open and willing to say, you know what, I need to learn some more about where it is I want to go. I need to become an expert about this information, or I just need to know more. I can't go in, you can't go in and claim to be an expert with just basic information. You
Right.
want to build upon that. And so henceforth, how does a leader evolve? You were a leader when you discovered you were a leader. You were, and some of us are leaders in different ways, whether it's in our home, in your business, in the corporation that you work for, in your ministry, with your siblings. You may be the eldest grandchild, which automatically puts you in some leadership role. But in order
Mm-hmm.
to be the best in that role, you're going to have to evolve to another level.
Right.
So I began to go on discovery, and I had a natural and a spiritual kind of. I need to discover who I am as an individual, as a person, as a man. I need to discover who I am as a minister. I need to discover who I am as a son. Discover who I am as an uncle. Discover who I am as all these different facets of an individual. I need to discover these different elements because each part of these elements make up a portion of who I am. So what I
Right.
began to do, my life became a jigsaw puzzle. How do I put this puzzle of my
Mm.
life together?
Mm.
And,
Okay.
and if I'm going to be used to be impactful, the key word that began to hit me, even as we're talking and we're dialoguing right now, and I said, God, whoa, I'm a spokesman.
Mm. Okay. I get that.
I'm a spokesman. So as a spokesman, you're representing a brand. It could be your personal brand, it could be someone else's brand, but you want to make sure that as a spokesman, you're doing the best that you can.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing that I began to say, so that's kind of like how the book began to develop. It started as training material, and after I
Mm-hmm.
have this material, I constantly went back to the material, and I
Right.
learned over time, Lewis, more people need this information. I needed the information.
Right.
So if I needed the information, then I'm able to share the information and kind of go from there.
Right. Yeah, that's deep, man. That is deep. I like the way you crafted that conversation because it really brings to light where people are, but
Hmm.
where they should be in terms of that evolution. One of the key words that you used in sharing that with us is the word expectations. And interestingly enough, I was talking to a group of people that's a part of my business. We call them the squad, and I was talking to them a couple of days ago about that very word, expectations. What is it that you expect from every aspect of your life? Like you said, it could be from a mother, a father, sister, brother, friend, but what are the expectations for your life? And then how are you going to evolve to meet those expectations? Because a lot of times that evolution, it entails personal growth. It
Absolutely.
entails being able to personally develop and things of that nature. So I really appreciate that explanation. You also talked about how, you had to put yourself together basically like pieces of a puzzle. And so when I think about that, and even relating to my own story, you're absolutely correct, because I like to consider myself a chameleon, being able to adapt to different situations and circumstances. And when I think about it, the way you crafted that information, it's exactly that. It's putting your life, the pieces of your life together like a puzzle. So for everybody who is listening, those who are taking notes, those who will go back and listen to this again, understand that that evolution in terms of being a leader involves you taking different pieces and aspects of your life to become that complete person. So that's powerful, man. A little bit more about that book. First of all, we appreciate you, sharing your work. I know, being an author myself, I know that the hard work and the dedication that goes into creating a book, and the passion and the hours of commitment to doing that. We want to be able to continue to follow your message and actually follow the evolving leader, and maybe even get your book or anything of that nature. Can you just kind of give us some tidbits of where we may be able to access the book or follow you or anything of that nature?
Absolutely. The book is available on Amazon.com, and it's The Evolving Leader, three
Okay.
words, The Evolving Leader. And my key emphasis from that was learning to take charge and arise. But the book is on Amazon.com. You can also go to my website, lewisperson.com. You'll actually be able to order the book from there as well, which takes you back to Amazon. So either way is an option to do it. Also, feel free to follow me on social media. Lewis Person the Fourth on Facebook, or Lewis Person Ministries on Facebook. So those are definitely some ways to be able to keep in contact with me and know what's
Okay.
going on.
Yeah, that's good, man. I know that I participated in one of your groups, and the messages and the empowerment that you share. It's, a lot of times I'm running, and I'm doing different things, and busy. But when I get that little alert and just that little message that you share, just those tidbits of information, it gives you energy, it gives you enlightenment, it gives you empowerment. So I'm encouraging everybody, to make sure that you follow Lewis and all of his social media platforms. Before we close out today, we'll go over that information again, but make sure that we follow and continue to support his vision, his ministry, and whatever he's doing as an evolving leader. These are some things that we can continue to enhance the quality of our lives. So with that being said, Lewis, what does the future hold for you? I mean, anything you can share with us in terms of what's that next, evolution for Lewis Person?
I am currently in the process of completing a second book, which will be a devotional. So I'm going to continue to write in the near future. I'm hoping to begin to do a little more podcasting and different things of that nature, more of on a weekly basis, just be able to convey the message on a greater scale. So I definitely got several things in the works, and we'll see how it all comes together when it comes together. But
Right.
definitely endeavoring to continue to evolve. And one thing I would tell everyone, we often hear, think about life. Life is to be lived and enjoyed. And what you want to do, you want to show up. I think I did a post, the other day, and it was so profound to me. And the post simply said, don't spend your life showing up to everybody else's party that you never attend your own. And
Wow.
sometime in life, we're so busy celebrating everybody else, we forget that we need to be celebrated. So I encourage each individual to evaluate where you are, where you're going, and celebrate life's journey as you go, because you're important. You were born for this time, for a purpose. You're a solution in the earth realm. I need you, we need you, and it's vitally important that we enjoy life. I promise you, if you don't enjoy life, somebody else will take advantage of your life at your expense.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, that alone, is worth this entire podcast to celebrate life. It's interesting that you say that because, I've been hearing so many people dealing with so many different challenges, whether it's through COVID, whether it's through physical challenges, whatever the case may be. And life is short, man. Life is really short. I know it sounds like a cliche, but we don't know when that expiration date is going to come. And when we talk about celebrating life, every single day should be celebrated for all it's worth. Every single day should be honored for all it's worth. And so for you to share that with our audience, that's some powerful information. I want everybody to kind of take advantage of it. I see a lot of people who they're kind of I'll say stuck in a rut a little bit. And I know a lot of it has to do with the pandemic and, just kind of being shut down a little bit. But even in the midst of everything that's going on with the pandemic and just not having free flowing freedoms like you did previously, you still should be able to celebrate life, whatever that means to you. We talk about living authentically. We talk about all of those things that will continue to elevate you as a special person. We always talk about here on the Deep Dive podcast how to create your future. Well, a part of creating your future is celebrating today,
Absolutely.
celebrating right now. Would you agree, Lewis?
I totally agree.
Yeah. So I encourage you guys to do that. Continue to celebrate where you are, but also with a view to what your future should look like in terms of how you're going to craft that and make that happen. And all of the things that we talked about with Lewis today, I mean, these are some things that you can implement in your daily lives and continue to, as I said, follow and support his messages. Because as he talked about, those posts are powerful. And you never know how God is actually instilling certain things in your life. It could be a post, it could be a hello, it could be a smile, whatever it may be that can empower your life. So anytime you have an opportunity to take in anything, you certainly want to do it. And with Lewis Person is absolutely a great person to follow and to follow his teachings. Before we get out of here, Lewis, I wanted just anything that's on your mind, anything that you want to share. I always like to close out a podcast with some type of message that the audience, regardless of where they are in the world, that they can take away, in addition to all of the tidbits and all the things that you shared. But is there anything that's on your heart, on your mind, even in terms of telling people, look out for this or look out for that, or a direction, because we want them to walk away from this podcast with some tools to empower their lives. So is there anything that you can share before we close out?
Absolutely. Just as you were talking, a couple of things came to mind, but one nugget I would definitely leave with everyone is to be open to change and be willing to change. Part of living authentically is knowing when you need to shift, adjust. How you live this year may be differently than how you live next year. And be okay with that. Sometimes we get stuck in a rut. So I would definitely tell everyone to, get out the rut, do something different, be willing to discover some additional gifts that you have within yourself that you have not tapped into. And one thing about this time of pandemic that has forced a lot of people to slow down. In slowing down, you can pick up some new skills. I'll briefly share during the pandemic, just being at home every day. I've always been one to cook, but there were certain things I never knew. I never took the time to learn how to cook.
Right.
And I said, well, since you're at home, where can you cook that you've never cooked? And so I learned how to make biscuits from scratch, something I had never done before, but I learned how to do that. I learned how to make a pound cake from scratch, something I hadn't done before.
Okay.
So I challenged myself to do something that I hadn't done, and henceforth, and I'll give you a few nuggets out of the book, which I'll encourage everyone to get. But the biggest thing is, true leadership is a lifestyle. In
Mm-hmm.
order to be a leader, you got to commit to to the lifestyle of a leader. And what I mean by that, you are a leader 365 days of the year. You are a leader 24 hours a day. Someone's looking, watching, even when you think no one's paying attention, someone's looking, somebody is watching. Think about leadership from our cabinet of Senate and the president. And this is just a nugget from the book. Leadership determines the affairs of mankind, because we as individuals, we depend upon it.
Right.
One of our major consequences that we experience in life is because of lack of leadership. If there's
Mm-hmm.
not proper leadership in your home is going to have problems. In your business, in the government, if we have a lack of leadership, we're going to have problems.
Mm-hmm.
And what we have to understand, leadership is a system that creates a sense of purpose and direction.
Mm.
you know and my closing nugget, I'll just say this because I can go on, and it's also, and all of this that I just shared is just in the introduction of the book. I haven't even gotten into the book, but
Right.
one little part here says, A leader is known for their function and performance and
Mm,
performances of that function.
okay.
Hence, no leadership exists where these two are not in place. So let me go back and say that again. A
Please.
leader is known for their function and the performances of that function.
Okay.
And no leadership exists where these two are not in place. So, as a leader, you have to function, and also a leader has to perform.
Right.
So I have to function as an individual, and I have to perform with and before the people that I'm called to lead, to have some level of authority over. So you always have to make sure that the two are in balance. And when either one is out of sync, as a leader, you're out of sync.
Mm,
So we have to continue to push ourselves forward and go out and get valuable resources, books and audio teachings. And one thing I've learned, and I've challenged myself during this time, to become a sponge of material from some great authors. Anybody who wants to learn about something, get to those people. If you want to learn how to cook, go get you some cooking books and
right.
begin to follow some of the chefs that you want to learn from. If you want to learn how to be a good leader, find people who are doing stuff that you've done. So I'm watching now for people like yourself. What is Sam Orm doing? I'm watching for people. What is John Maxwell doing? I'm
Right.
watching people. What is Cindy Trim doing? I'm watching people that I value. What is Jack Canfield doing? These different people. What are they doing? How have they done it? And
Right.
how can I implement those things to make myself better? So challenge yourself to be better.
Man, that's what a close. I tell you that, I mean, man, that is incredible. I like the way you talk about, you have to perform, in terms of your results. I tell people all the time, only the results matter. There's activity and then there's productivity. So when you talk about performing, from my perspective, that's all about productivity. You got to get results. So that's very important. And then also something else that you said that's important is, being open to change and then willing to change. I think a lot of people, and I'm guilty of this as well, but I think a lot of people kind of get stuck in their own ways. I'm a person that's ABC 1 2 3 type person, very structured. And sometimes structure doesn't allow for change. But when you're talking about, to the point that you made, when you're talking about evolving as a leader, when you're talking about being better than you are today, then a big part of that being better is being open and willing to change. So I'll take your advice on that. I'll take your teaching and your coaching on that, and I'll implement it. I'm one of those type people that, even though I do have structure to my life, I always take pride in being open to change if I find something of value. And this, my brother, is incredibly valuable. And I appreciate all that you have done. I appreciate all that you have shared on this podcast, but I also appreciate all that you're continuing to share. Interestingly enough, even though you have evolved as a leader, I could just tell, just based on your future and the things you're talking about moving forward, this is still the beginning for you. It's still the beginning. And we want to follow you through this evolution as we evolve ourselves. We want to make sure that we continue to support what you're doing. I'll say to give you information one more time, I'll allow you to give it one more time, your book, your website title, how we can get the book, and any other pertinent information in terms of following you and keeping in contact with your message.
Absolutely. Thank you once again for the opportunity. The book, once again, is The Evolving Leader. The book is available on Amazon.com. You can also go to my website, www.louisperson.com, and Louis is spelled Louis, person, just the way it sounds, Person.com. You can also purchase the book there. On Facebook, Louis Person the Fourth, Louis Person Ministries. We also have a group, The Evolving Leader, where I'm definitely sharing different nuggets and tidbits, every day, just to empower and encourage us to be better, to be our best self. As we always hear the saying, to live your best life. In order to live
Right.
your best life, you got to work on being better. So those are definitely ways you can get in contact with me and be on the
Absolutely.
lookout.
Well, I tell you what, I'm a part of that group, and I'm telling you, it's some powerful stuff. When I see that name pop up, you know you're going to get some power and some substance behind it. So, hey, man, I could talk to you all day. We certainly have to get you back to do another podcast at some point in the future. But I want to say thank you personally for myself for doing this podcast, but then also for the entire Deep Dive podcast audience. This is a very sophisticated audience, and they understand and appreciate, guests who have knowledge and who have substance and who have some things to bring to the table, like you did today. And I can tell you, my brother, is just continue to do what you're doing, continue to strive forward, continue to empower people, because people are watching. Just like you said earlier, people are watching and they are being empowered by your message. So thank you so much again from the bottom of my heart. For those of you who are listening, once again, please subscribe, download, share this particular podcast, and like it, because we want to continue to spread this message of empowerment and entertainment around the world. This particular podcast, if you have some friends or relatives who may not have had a chance to listen to it live, then make sure you go to any of the podcast platforms, Spotify, Google, Apple, any of them, and make sure you listen to this episode again. So with that, Lewis, thank you so much, my brother. Everybody else, we're going to see you on the beaches of the world. God bless and much success.